The moment a comedian stops telling jokes and starts reading your failures like a public court record, you know something has gone terribly wrong. And according to the whispers now spreading across Hollywood, that is exactly what happened when Meghan Markle found herself at the center of a brutal wave of mockery that seemed to confirm what critics have been saying for years. This wasn't just another celebrity roast. This felt like a public verdict. A verdict on the Sussex brand, on the endless complaints, on the billion-dollar opportunities, and on a comeback that many believe never actually happened. The question hanging over everything is simple. How did a woman who was handed every possible platform end up becoming comedy material for nearly everyone?
Meghan Markle is, of course, a lifelong feminist, which she's demonstrated by marrying a prince and giving up her job.
What I discovered that she was hunting for a man in England. She wanted wealth and she wanted fame, and she targeted Harry.
And this was the most savage dig yet. I mean, they actually call her a tit. Watch this.
Yeah.
Okay. King Charles visited the U.S. to mark the 250th anniversary of American independence from Britain and to seek the release of a British hostage being held by an American.
I tried so hard. Did you like it?
I'm almost speechless.
The numbers alone were enough to make Hollywood insiders raise their eyebrows. $200 million, massive media deals, global publicity, unlimited attention. For years, supporters insisted Meghan and Harry were building an empire that would rival anything the royal family could imagine. Yet suddenly, the conversation wasn't about success. It was about rankings. It was about ratings. It was about whether all those promises had quietly collapsed behind the scenes.
Prince William or Prince Harry?
Prince William or Prince Harry? Well, the royal family, right, if you can imagine, they're like our Kardashians. Prince Harry is very much our Kanye. He occasionally dresses as a Nazi, and he fucked up.
Number 383. Not number 3. Not even number 33. Number 383. That number landed like a thunderbolt because numbers don't care about public relations. Numbers don't care about emotional interviews. Numbers don't care about carefully crafted narratives. They simply sit there, cold and merciless, telling a story many people don't want to hear.
Harry and Meghan say they'd now like to split their time between spending your money in the UK and spending your money in Canada.
Spending your money, not theirs. Yours. That's the match struck.
Donald Trump has had enough of them. He's privately savaged Prince Harry during King Charles's visit to America. Trump remarked to a British visitor when the conversation turned to Harry, "Can you take him back?" Everyone is fed up with the grifters. I mean, Trump has clearly had enough of the woe is me, ginger and whinger.
Did you like it?
I'm gonna come.
And that's when things became dangerous. Because once comedians smell weakness, they don't stop. They circle. They dig. They expose contradictions. Suddenly, every interview, every documentary, every public statement became evidence. Every attempt to explain became another punchline. Every effort to gain sympathy seemed to create even more skepticism. The floodgates had opened.
We love American telly. My brother's fiancée, Miss Meghan Markle, is on the American program Suits.
Yes, Wednesdays, 8 p.m, USA Network. Check it out. She's amazing, isn't it? Yeah?
Right. The only difference between that show and this is people watch this one.
Oh, hilarious.
Jimmy Carr's style made the entire situation even worse. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't ranting. He wasn't acting angry. He simply delivered observations with the calmness of a man discussing the weather. That cold delivery somehow made every jab feel twice as brutal. Viewers weren't watching a comedian attack Meghan. They were watching a comedian describe what many critics already believed. Then came the subject nobody can ever resist discussing: privacy, the word that has followed Harry and Meghan everywhere like a shadow. They left royal life claiming they wanted peace. They wanted freedom. They wanted a life away from public scrutiny. Yet somehow cameras kept appearing. Interviews kept happening. Documentaries kept getting filmed. Books kept getting written. The contradiction became impossible to ignore.
I know who Kate Middleton is.
Beautiful woman.
Yeah, fine.
Great mum. Whenever the kids are being fussy and not going to bed, she puts on an episode of Suits and they're out. So.
What are you doing? Ow!
Stop it!
Yeah.
Stop it!
Just give him a wet willy?
Yes, in England it's called a moist Matthew.
The audience laughed because the joke wasn't really a joke. It was a summary of years of confusion. How can someone demand privacy while constantly inviting the world into their private lives? How can someone reject attention while building an entire media empire around personal revelations? These questions kept resurfacing again and again, and every time they did, the answers seemed to become more complicated. Then Hollywood delivered another uncomfortable reality.
The intention of the show was to share more of myself.
You keep saying Meghan Markle, you know I'm Sussex now.
To share tips that I love in my life.
When nature has given you all the cues on how to have a perfect taste of something.
Oh, how fun is that? I love it.
I appreciate what hard work looks like. I like working hard.
You can survive scandals in Hollywood. You can survive criticism. You can even survive failure. But there is one thing that terrifies every celebrity: irrelevance. And according to critics, the verdict being whispered behind closed doors was becoming increasingly harsh. Not that Meghan was controversial, not that Meghan was hated, but that Meghan simply wasn't delivering results. That accusation exploded once discussion turned toward the Netflix projects.
This woman is being paid millions of dollars to show how to cut into a pineapple.
How bad that trailer, that seems like the worst show that I've ever heard of.
I love a bad watch. I love a good bad watch. This is not that. This is really grueling to get through.
Yeah. What should have been a triumphant comeback suddenly looked like a case study in wasted opportunity. Critics pointed toward the massive budget. They pointed toward the enormous publicity machine. They pointed toward the endless media coverage. Then they looked at the audience reaction and asked a devastating question. If all these resources couldn't produce a hit, what exactly was missing? The criticism grew louder. Every clip, every lifestyle tip, every carefully staged moment became fuel for another wave of online ridicule. Some viewers complained the content felt disconnected from ordinary people. Others argued it felt overly polished, yet strangely empty. The more people debated it, the worse the perception seemed to become. Then came another blow. Rumors about major deals losing momentum. Questions about whether giant corporations still saw the Sussex brand as a guaranteed winner. Suddenly, people weren't discussing future success. They were discussing missed opportunities. They were discussing canceled projects. They were discussing whether Hollywood's patience was beginning to wear thin. And beneath all of it was a deeper accusation, one that kept appearing from critics, comedians, commentators, and former supporters alike. They claimed the entire brand had become dependent on one thing: grievance. Every interview seemed to return to old wounds. Every major project appeared connected to past conflicts. Every public appearance somehow circled back to the same story. For supporters, it was speaking truth. For critics, it was becoming repetitive. And as the laughter grew louder, one uncomfortable reality emerged. The more Meghan and Harry tried to explain themselves, the more ammunition they seemed to hand their critics. What began as a campaign for sympathy was increasingly being transformed into comedy material. What happened next was the moment the entire narrative seemed to turn against them. The criticism was no longer coming from royal commentators or tabloid newspapers. It was coming from comedians, podcast hosts, celebrities, and even people who had no personal stake in the royal drama at all. That was the real danger, because once a public image becomes comedy material, it becomes incredibly difficult to regain control of it. Every appearance creates another joke. Every statement creates another meme. Every attempt at damage control somehow creates fresh headlines. The privacy issue refused to disappear. Critics kept pointing to the same contradiction. If the goal was peace, why were cameras always present? If the goal was freedom from attention, why were so many projects built around telling personal stories? The questions piled up faster than the answers. Then came the comparisons. Comparisons to celebrities who rarely discussed their private lives. Comparisons to public figures who quietly build businesses without constantly revisiting old grievances. Those comparisons were becoming impossible to escape. The most painful part was that many observers believed Meghan and Harry had everything required for success: global recognition, unlimited publicity, massive contracts, powerful connections, opportunities that most entertainers spend an entire lifetime chasing. Yet somehow the conversation kept returning to what hadn't worked instead of what had. Critics argued that every failed project wasn't being judged in isolation anymore. It was being added to a growing list: Spotify, Netflix controversies, brand launches, public appearances. Everything became part of a larger story. Then another uncomfortable truth started emerging. The public wasn't necessarily necessarily angry anymore. In many cases, people seemed exhausted. The outrage had faded. The debates had cooled. What replaced them was something arguably worse: indifference. And in entertainment, indifference can be fatal. A celebrity can survive being loved. A celebrity can survive being hated. But surviving when audiences simply stop caring becomes much harder. As more voices joined the conversation, one theme kept resurfacing: victimhood. Critics repeatedly argued that too much of the Sussex narrative revolved around suffering, unfair treatment, and personal struggles. Supporters saw honesty. Opponents saw a business model. The divide grew wider every year, but comedians found a way to cut through the debate with a simple observation: the more they complained about fame, the more famous they became. The more they criticized media attention, the more media attention followed. It became a cycle that seemed impossible to break. Then came some of the harshest celebrity commentary yet. Public figures openly questioned whether the opportunities given to the Sussexes had been fully utilized. Some argued the problem wasn't lack of resources. The problem was execution. Others claimed the issue wasn't public hostility. It was audience disappointment. Those criticisms landed particularly hard because they weren't coming from traditional enemies. They were coming from people inside the entertainment world itself. And beneath all the laughter, all the jokes, and all the criticism, another comparison quietly emerged: Prince William. Again and again, commentators contrasted the brothers. One stayed inside the institution. One left. One largely avoided public complaints. One built an entire media narrative around them. Whether fair or unfair, that comparison became a recurring theme. Every time Harry spoke, somebody inevitably pointed toward William. Every time controversy erupted, people asked why the two brothers appeared to be moving in such dramatically different directions. By this point, the comedians weren't creating the story anymore. They were reacting to it. The rankings, the reviews, the canceled opportunities, the public perception battles, all of it already existed. The jokes simply highlighted what critics believed was hiding in plain sight. And that may be the most uncomfortable part of this entire saga. The punchlines weren't powerful because they were clever. They were powerful because audiences already recognized the pattern. In the end, this was never just about one television show, one podcast, one interview, or one bad headline. It became a debate about credibility, about whether the Sussex brand could evolve beyond old grievances and build something people genuinely wanted to watch. Because critics believe the biggest threat isn't public criticism. It isn't royal drama. It isn't even bad reviews. The biggest threat is becoming predictable. And that's why this story continues to generate endless headlines. The palace drama may have started years ago, but the consequences are still unfolding. Every new project is now treated like a test. Every public appearance becomes a referendum. Every interview is analyzed for signs that the strategy has changed. Because one question still hangs over everything, unanswered: can a brand built on controversy reinvent itself before the audience decides it has already heard the ending? Or has the verdict already been quietly delivered while everyone was busy laughing? The answer may be arriving sooner than anyone expects.